welcome back to Ralph's Sorta True Stories. As you can probably tell, we're going to do some blonde stories today. Blondes I have known in my lifetime. Many years ago, I was a junior executive, but I'd finally risen to a level where I got to have a secretary. And her name was Trixie, which, kind of sounds like the Fruit Loops bunny, and they might have had some things in common. Anyway, Trixie turned out to be a pretty good secretary. I want you to know, before I start talking about Trixie, my wife's blonde. My wife's very smart, she's very accomplished, so I don't need a lot of cards and letters about the fact that I'm picking on blondes. I love blondes. These are true stories, so it is what it is. When she first came to me, I had some paperwork, and I put them down in front of her, and I tapped the bottom of the page, and I said, "Sign here." When she brought it back to me, on that bottom line, it said Sagittarius. So I guess that was her zodiac sign, but that wasn't quite what I had in mind. Now, one day, she boots up her computer, and she starts typing in her password, and she's typey. And I said, "Trixie, what's going on?" She says, "Well, I'm typing in my password." And I said, what the heck is your password?" She said, "It's Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Daffy Duck, Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Goofy, Sacramento, all run together." And I said, "Well, why would you have a password like that?" She says, "Well, remember I took that computer class? The instructor said I had to have a password that had 7 characters and a capital." Eventually, we did get all booted up, and we're going to work. And in the course of some things, I tell her that I want her to buy something online. Now, this is back in time. We had floppy disks and that sort of thing. So I walk out, and I see her, and she's got my company credit card, and she's jamming it in and out of the floppy disk. And I said, "Trixie, what are you doing?" "So I'm trying to buy this online, and they're asking for my credit card, but this thing won't take it." So, like I say, Trixie had her challenges. One day, in fact, she came to me and she says, "Boss, we're out of typing paper." And I said, "Well, Trixie, just use some of the Xerox paper in the Xerox machine." And so she did. She went and got a piece of Xerox paper and copied it 25 times. I guess that seemed very logical to her. Now, I wanted to engage her on a higher level, so I attempted to talk to her about literature at one point, but that didn't go particularly well either. I mentioned Moby Dick, and she thought that was a venereal disease. Once I remember in December, I mentioned to her, I says, "Trixie, Christmas is on Friday this year." She says, "Oh, well, I hope it's not Friday the 13th. I said, "No, I don't think it probably will be." Well, she had a buddy, another secretary, in the office, and down on the corner, there was a coffee shop. So they would go down there for their breaks, and they'd have coffee. And one day, the brunette's telling me about this. They come out of the coffee shop. Diagonally across was a flower shop. And the brunette said to Trixie, she says, "Oh my God, look at that. There's my boyfriend coming out of that flower shop with a dozen long stem red roses. Oh, terrible." And Trixie said, "Well, don't you think it's very romantic for your boyfriend, to buy you a dozen roses?" She says, "Yeah, that part's romantic, but now he's going to expect me to be on my back all weekend with my legs in the air." And Trixie said, "What? Don't you have a vase?" So I guess she was kind of easily confused. She came to me one day and she says, I got a couple of dogs, big dogs, like Rottweilers." "Really?" I said, "Big dogs?" I said, what are their names?" She said, "Well, I named them Rolex and Timex." I said, "Wow, that's sort of weird names for dogs, Rolex and Timex." She said, "Well, duh, they're watchdogs." So again, this made sense to Trixie. I remember she was having trouble with her car once. She actually was late coming into work, and I was a little concerned. So I had to take my car to the mechanic. He had to fix it. And I said, "Well, what was the story?" She says, "Well, he didn't explain it well. He just said crap in the carburetor." And I said, "Oh." She says, "How often do you think I have to do that?" Well, she got rid of that car with the carburetor problem, and she got a new car. But after a little bit, she was complaining to me about that car. And I said, well, Trixie, what's wrong with it? She says, it goes perfectly during the day. I don't have a problem with it at all. She says, but I can't get it to go anywhere at night. And sometimes I like to go out at night. And I said, well, it goes in the day, but not at night. But I said, it sort of sounds like a transmission problem. Have you read the manual? She says, I know you think I'm so dumb that I don't know how to operate a transmission. Well, I know very well D is for drive and N is for night. And of course, I could help Trixie with that problem and explain to her that N is really for neutral. And so eventually she was able to drive her new car and be happy ever after. That's all the stories I have right now about Trixie. I want to thank you for watching Ralph's Sorta True Stories. I hope you come back for the next segment. We're going to talk about Blonde some more. In the meantime, have a nice day. Hurry back. Oh, and down at the bottom, remember to push on that little thumbs up and move over and click on that subscribe. And then right next to that, click on that little bell. And that way, when we load a new video, blonde or otherwise, you'll get a notification. Again, thank you very much for watching Ralph's Sorta True Stories.